I'm 14 and my brother is 10 meters. Our dad has been with Carol for close to 2 years, and they got married in early November. Carol hates us, especially me. She calls me a problem child, and is always picking at me, being rude to me. She constantly compares us to her daughters, constantly picks fights and tries to parent my brother and I. She yells and calls us names when we have to go over. If one of her daughters does something to us, like taking our stuff, she just brushes it off and laughs, and our dad just lets it happen. We have no choice but to see him 4 times a month because of his and our mom's court agreement. But we hate it there, and we hate Carol. So we didn't go to their wedding, even though Dad was super pissed and fought with us about it for 2 months after we told him we weren't going. So we skipped the wedding. Last Sunday, he picked us up like usual and drove us to his house. I noticed right away they were in a better mood than they have been lately. Carol was blabbing at us about their honeymoon in Florida. When we got to the house, Dad announced they had something to show us and for us to go sit in the living room while he got it. Me and my brother went and sat down, but we both had a bad feeling. The girls were nowhere around, which was weird. Carol came to sit on the other couch and she was just staring at us, looking like she'd won something. And my dad comes in with a Blu-ray disc and puts it into the player and sits with Carol. And Carol says in this happy bitchy voice, "This is since the 2 of you missed it. You can see what you missed." It started playing and we realized it was a video of their wedding day. A few seconds in, it was edited to a clip of them saying "I do" and kissing. My brother saw this and started to cry, and I just got so mad. We hate Carol, and that's why we didn't go in the first place. She wasn't going to force us to look at it now. So I grabbed my brother's hand and pulled him up off the couch and said we weren't going to watch this. Carol sneered and said we had no choice. I told her she'd never be in charge of us, no matter how much she wished she was, and told my dad we were leaving. I admit I shouted this part. She told me to stop being a little bitch, and I shouted back that she's a big fat bitch who should know better. Rude, I know. She shouted at my dad, "Are you just going to let her talk to me like that?" And Dad just kind of laughed and said he wasn't dealing with this and went to his room and locked the door. I took my brother to get his stuff on, grabbed my bag and left, with Carol screaming at me most of that time. Most of what she was saying, it was too loud and screamy. I started walking with my brother down the side of the road and called Mom on my cell to come get us. We walked about 10 minutes before she met us on the road. Dad is mad at me. Carol is pissed, but Mom is upset only because she thinks I shouldn't have walked my brother along the road. If I'm the A, it's alright. Not the idiot. Carol treats you poorly and your father does nothing to protect you from that. And it's understandable you would have an outburst like this. You're young, and it's hard to deal with stuff like this when no one takes you seriously. All in all, I don't think you handled it that poorly. If you haven't already, I'd recommend sitting down with your mother and brother and explaining to her why you both dislike going to your dad's. You're getting to an age where the courts may actually take your opinion into consideration for where you spend your time. Good luck, and I hope it all works out for you. Sweetheart, you need proof she is doing this to you. Don't egg her on. But always keep your phone charged and recording. Next time she gets unreasonably upset, record it and take it to your mom, who can then take it to the judge for full custody. Story Hub. I, 17F, am responsible for showering my sister. She's 9 years old and I thought it's time she learns to shower by herself. My mom doesn't seem to like the idea. I did remind her that at her age I was able to shower by myself. And in fact, I started when I was 7, and by 9, I was able to wash my hair by myself. I had really long and thick hair. I've told my mom I'll train her to start washing herself, and she agreed, but I have to be there to guide her. And we've been doing that for a few months now. Since my sister is turning 10 in a few months, and I think she's capable enough to shower herself by now, I left her unattended, and she was okay with doing it too. Later my mom found out, and she was not happy at all. She claims I did that because I'm lazy, and that it was very irresponsible for me to leave a kid unattended. I did remind her that I used to wash myself at her age, but she doesn't want to listen, or she keeps making excuses. Now my grandma and aunts are saying that I'm in the wrong for doing that. Not the idiot. Why is your family wanting to stunt your sister's development? She should be allowed privacy in the shower and be trusted to clean herself. Not the idiot. It's not your job to parent your sister. If your mom doesn't want her to be unattended in the shower, then she is the one who needs to supervise her. Also, a 9-10-year-old should be able to shower independently. If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to subscribe. My wife and I have a 3-year-old daughter and 2-year-old son. I'll call them D and Sam for brevity. My in-laws often send us stuff for the kids, and it is usually addressed to Sam. I ignore this, as the kids are so close in age, 11 months, and are at similar developmental stages. I never put much thought into why Sam's name is usually on the packages. Whenever they send a toy, it just goes in the playroom, and the kids don't have individual toys, unless you count the stuffed animals they sleep with. My wife initially wanted to divide the toys into different chests for each kid. I said it didn't make sense, and it makes cleaning and organizing the room take longer. When I pick up the playroom, I organize the toys by type, and that makes them fit into less space, and makes it impossible to forget what goes where, so things are easier to find. My wife admitted I was right, so that's how we've been doing things for a while. Today my in-laws were visiting and saw Dee playing with a toy. My mother-in-law asked why Dee had Sam's toy. I said we don't split the toys up like that. None of the toys are Sam's or Dee's. All the toys belong to Sam and Dee. My mother-in-law was upset because she picked that toy out specifically for Sam. I just sort of shrugged. It's a plastic frog, there's nothing special about it. Father-in-law asked if I did that with everything they sent, and I said most things, but the kids do have their special stuffed animals they sleep with. Both were upset and started arguing with my wife in their language way too fast for me to keep up with. But it basically amounted to me being an ungrateful and rude asshole. Then they left. My wife said going forward, we should keep toys bought for Sam separate, because it upsets her parents that the toys are communal. I said I wasn't okay with that. If we do that, we'd have to buy more stuff for Dee and less for Sam for it to be equal. That would make Sam think we like him less than Dee, and Dee think her grandparents like her less than Sam. I said if her parents aren't okay with that, they shouldn't send stuff. Now things are really tense. With her and her parents both mad at me, I'm questioning if I'm being a stubborn ass. Not the idiot first of all, eventually your kids will want toys that are theirs, and not shared, so gear up for that if you have a problem. Second, your in-laws are sexist. Not the idiot. Your in-laws are blatantly favoring the boy grandchild, and that's not something to put up with. Your wife should not allow that either. Consider that they are even angry that Dee gets to touch a toy they intended for Sam alone. That's pretty mean. I don't see anything wrong with keeping most toys communal. I bet the kids are great at sharing. Though as they get older, they are going to want more private property, and you'll need to respect that and smoothly transition to a hybrid or new system. Story Hub. I'm a father of a 21-year-old son who originally came home for winter break from uni. A couple of days ago, when he was in his room, and we were in the adjacent master bedroom organizing our finances, we heard him talking quite audibly and forcefully, telling his therapist about all the bad things we've done, has done over the years that led him to getting therapy. And once we heard that my wife said it was confidential and we can't listen, so we tuned out. Later that evening at dinner, I told my son that I think it would be best if he was neutral with his therapist, so that they can come to a judgment regarding all sides of an issue, and that he should include more of the good things we've done for him, so that things aren't as one-sided, and that he can get the best treatment he needs. He then looked up at me and proceeded to give me an earful about how I do not comment on his private affairs, that he handles his healthcare however the F he wants, that I should be ashamed of myself for having the audacity to overstep a boundary like that and listen in on his session. And I tried to tell him that we genuinely didn't know it was a therapy session. And when we did, my wife told me that it's confidential and private and tuned out. But he just barked. If you would have just kept your mouth shut then, none of this would have happened. I had to bark back that he does not curse at us, and he needs to respect us, because we are his parents who have helped him get to where he is today. To which he just picked up his bowl and left the dinner table, going to his room. I tried to later knock on his door and say sorry, but didn't get a response. The next morning, I got a text from my son saying that he's moving back to his dorm and that he can expect us to not celebrate Christmas with him, and that he's upset. I tried to explain, but he again didn't respond. And now my wife is angry with me and upset at the fact that I said something that could potentially ruin Christmas if I don't make it up to him. And it's eating away at me. I don't think you understand how therapy works. Your son doesn't need to be neutral. He needs to talk about whatever is on his mind. Obviously, he's holding on to a lot of resentment towards you. Whether you agree with it or not, it's his perception that you've done some stuff that's caused him to feel this way. He needs a safe, confidential space to work through this. It's not the therapist's job to make a judgment about who's right or wrong, but to help your son process his feelings and be able to express them in a healthy way. We TA'd not for inadvertently overhearing part of a confidential call, but for inserting your unwanted, uneducated opinion about it. ITA, you were eavesdropping. That's wrong, no matter who someone is talking to. He needs to talk to his therapist about the things that hurt and trouble him. The stuff he needs to work through and sort out. If the good things you did aren't a problem, why would he bring them up? Are you worried about how you look to the therapist? That's letting your vanity be more important than his needs. The therapist 100% knows that they're only hearing one side of the story, and that they're hearing all of the bad and probably little or none of the good. Unless the swap between the two is what is causing the pain, gods know, that was part of what messed me up for my dad. So my therapist heard about it. Therapy is entirely about helping your son sort out and cope with his emotions and trauma. Your concern about losing face is both petty and completely inappropriate. Story Hub. So I'm a 15/F. My dad is a 43/M and my stepmother is a 38/F. For some context, I'm a T1D and I've been since I was a year and a half old. 3 weeks ago, I went for a checkup at a local children's hospital in my city where I usually go for my A1C tests, seeing my dietitian, my doctor who does physical checkups, blood pressure, making sure my nerves are okay, checking that my pump sites are being moved properly, etc. All that jazz. For the past 6 appointments, my dietitian has told me to treat with sugar before having protein, in this case milk. No matter how many times she tells us, my dad forces me to take milk at the same time. When my blood sugars go low, I've been told by both my dietitian and my stepmother, who is a nurse and a diabetic herself, that I should take protein after my blood sugars start coming up, because the protein slows down the sugar absorption, which gives my blood sugars the chance to go lower before the sugar fully absorbs. My dad seems to think that what both of them are saying is wrong, and if I just suspend my pump from giving me insulin, that it won't be a problem anyways. I don't like getting yelled at or threatened by my dad, so I just comply. Yesterday, though, my blood sugars went down to 2.3. For my age, my doctor says mine should be between 4 and 6 to be a good number, so I suspended my pump and went to go treat. I decided to take a juice box only and wait for my blood sugars to come up before having some milk. My dad came into the living room asking if I suspended my pod and asked what I was treated with. I told him I did and that I had juice. He then said, "With what?" I told him just the juice for now. He started yelling at me, while my 2 little half-sisters were trying to have naps, I might add, telling me that I need to treat with sugar and milk. I told her that the dietitian and my stepmother told us that I need to have sugar before I have any protein. He started screaming at me that that wasn't true, and that I need to shut my mouth and start listening to him cause he's my father. I just went to my room. I'm wondering if I should have just done the milk and juice thing to please him. So AITA for not treating my blood sugar the exact way my dad wants me to. Edit. Thank you to everyone who commented. There were so many I couldn't reply to them all. I've noticed a few things asked lots though. My mom is here. I just haven't been living with her for the past few months due to an issue we had. My stepmother does try to talk to my dad, but he either ignores her or yells at her. Not the idiot. My mom is a T1D. Do not follow his advice. You need sugar only to raise your glucose. Protein will only get in the way during a critical low. It's your life, not his, if he's wrong. His advice will kill you at some point. Dad, I'm sorry if you don't like it, but I need to follow the directions I've received from the medical professional who is treating me. If you believe the instructions I've been given are incorrect, then let's schedule an appointment with my doctor and you can express your concerns there. But until someone who is part of my treatment team tells me differently, I will not disobey the advice I have been given. Not the idiot. Your father's behavior is bizarre and dangerous to your health. No child should ever feel pressured by their parents to disregard the instructions given to them by the medical professionals who are trying to keep them safe. I'm so sorry you are going through this. Story Hub.